Hi guys, welcome to my review of the RunCam HD2. Before I start, I want to deal with a disclosure. RunCam did send me this free of charge for review, but I promise you I will not let that affect my judgment. So, in the box you will get a RunCam HD2, a mounting pod with a 1/4-20 tripod adapter and a GoPro type adapter. Leads to hook up a monitor or to run the cam as an FPV cam without its replaceable battery. A pair of RunCam branded straps and RunCam's rechargeable, replaceable 850mAh 3.7 volt battery. So, what have RunCam given us in the HD Mark II? Well, firstly, and in my opinion most importantly, we have now got 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is what you'll want to be using for anything that is fast paced, like mini quad racing or acro flying. In addition to the 1080-60 mode, you'll have 1440 at 30 frames per second, 1080 at 30 frames per second, and 720 at 120 frames per second. I only really recommend using this if you have enough available light, which is not just for this camera, that will go for any camera shooting with a high frame rate. The HD2 has a 120-degree field of view. It produces .mov files and is capable of being powered via the USB port at anywhere between 5 and 17 volts, which means you could run this from a 2 to 4 cell lithium polymer battery setup. It will accept up to 64GB micro SD cards, and the manufacturer recommends using at least a Class 6 card. The HD2 weighs in at 49 grams with its battery and just 35 grams without. So, that could be the way quad racers will run it, as every gram counts when hooning around corners at Mach 2 in a 180 size quad. While we're on the subject of FPV, this cam does one of the lowest latency outputs of 60 milliseconds when using 1080p at 60 frames and just 40 milliseconds at 720p 120 frames per second. Now, I am still not sure whether that is low enough for the likes of Chad Nowak or Luke Bannister to fly with as a main FPV camera, but it is super tough, low profile and cheaper to replace than a GoPro, so I am sure we will start to see some of the world's top pilots using this camera. Price at the moment of this video direct from the RunCam store is just 65 UK pounds. So almost £40 cheaper than the cheapest GoPro, and in my opinion this is a much better format than the large bulky GoPro shape. Bruce from RC Model Review has had it on the bench, proving the claims that it is indeed very low RF noise camera, performing best out of the bunch. Another brilliant first look video from 7 Demo 7 shows just how sexy the image is out of this cam. I will link to both of these videos in the description. Now, there are other options out there like the Foxeer Legend 1, but the RunCam is lighter, shorter, and the side-by-side video which I watched recently was much sharper. The HD2 also has built-in Wi-Fi and a downloadable app just like you get out of the GoPro line of action cams, available for both iOS and Android users. So gone are the days of not being able to change settings in the field or seeing what you're getting before hitting record. I like that the door on the back of the camera hides and protects the SD card. No more searching for hours to find that ejected SD card that has your best trick or flight recorded on it. This really shows that RunCam are listening to the feedback from the RC community and implementing these tweaks into their products, so kudos for that. So, let's take a quick look at the RunCam app. Okay, so there you go, you see it just takes a few seconds. Let's just going to tilt the tablet up. It takes a while to do on this tablet. There we go. Like I say, it's the tablet's not very responsive. If I'm just going to face the camera towards the tablet there, and hopefully you'll be able to see the latency there from my finger moving. Now, this isn't the latency that you'll see on the FPV camera. This is going through the Wi-Fi setup, but really that's not too bad. I've seen worse than that on a GoPro, and that's kind of the benchmark for this kind of thing. So there we go. You can see the display there on both cameras. Sorry, hands all over the place. So to record, you simply just push the red button, and the light will start to flash on top of the RunCam. And again, one press stops the recording. If you want to review the footage, click on that little landscape picture there, and here's some videos that I did earlier. Just pop a push on there, and there we go. There it is playing back, and the light will start to flash on top of the RunCam. So that's nice and simple. Just push back on the tablet and back again, and that will take us through to framing up screen and record screen. Now these function buttons, I'm going to put the RunCam down there for a second. Now these settings buttons on my tablet, let's just switch it around that way, could do with being bigger. I don't know whether it's because I've got big pudgy fingers, but yeah, they're a little difficult to access. Just going to zoom you guys in a little bit so you get a better look at this part. So here you've got the time-lapse settings, and the length, you can set the time-lapse interval and the time-lapse length there. Let's close that. The next one, you can change the white balance, the video resolution, and you can switch on the slow motion option. And as you can see, in video resolution, there's 1920 by 440, 1920 by 1080 60 frames per second, which is the one us guys really want, 1920 by 1080 30 frames. Let's just go back to that one. If you're sort of flying towards the end of the day or very early in the morning, or in a low light situation, take it off of 60 frames and whack it onto 30. It won't deal with the motion quite as well, but you'll get a lot more light in your image. There we go. We got the 1280 by 720 120 frames option. The same resolution again, 60 frames, and we've even got a 640 by 360 240 frames option, but who's going to use that? The image resolution would be terrible. So let's come out of there, and then this last button, which is the one that I have trouble touching, as you can see. We'll get there in a minute. He says confidently. There we go. Right, slide it down. There we go. And that's the main settings. Power supply frequency. Well, here in the UK, that pops up down the bottom. Here in the UK, we run 50 hertz, but for those of you in the States, you'll want to set that to 60. Let's pop this back up here again. Time and date stamp, image flip, is for self-rotating the camera. You'll want that off, otherwise you'll be flying with the camera and it will switch around when you do a flip, and it will be all over the place. Wi-Fi settings, that's for setting up your Wi-Fi. The default password is 123456789, and for formatting the memory card, you just click on that one and click yes. So that's the RunCam app. Really like that, works fantastic, and it's a great feature to have in a camera at this price point. So that brings me to the end of my review. I know some of you may have been expecting to see some test footage, but the weather here has been terrible and most days are overcast and dark. There are links in the description to all the videos I mentioned earlier, including one of Oscar Lang's blog. His reviews are top notch, and he has some test footage of the HD2 up against the previous RunCam version, a GoPro Hero 4 and the Xiaomi E. So that's my review of the RunCam HD2. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, as that really helps the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm Mount Barnard. Bye for now.